All right. Next, Jake, is a message from a client. I'm going to read this to you here. Love the podcast and the new format. Thank you for that. Any interest on featuring a flat income tax, your opinions, articles, etc.? Your last podcast made mention of the IRS's new 8% penalty for failing to make estimated tax payments. This client pointed out, I'm one of those earners that absolutely hates paying taxes throughout the year and letting my return be used interest-free all year long. A flat tax would seem much easier in theory to make the correct payments on a regular basis. Jake, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think politicians have really messed up the tax code, Corey. I think we talked about this on previous episodes of the polarization of America and the Democrats versus Republicans. And I think the issue is you have these non-financial people in office making financial decisions. And I agree that the tax code has grown far too complex. I think, a flat tax may look like everybody pays 20%, no matter what you make, no matter what you do, whatever. I don't think that's the worst thing, Corey, and I want to hear your opinion. We've also debated this internally in our office. I don't know if you were in this conversation, Corey, but I also think some sort of usage tax or a luxury tax. For example, if you don't drive down Ward Parkway every day, why should you pay to maintain that road? So maybe that would be like an example of like a toll road, right, for heavily trafficked areas, because those do exist, right? Toll roads do exist. So I'm in favor of a flat tax. Actually, it would simplify things. Everybody pays 20% or whatever it is. Maybe you even get rid of a lot of the deductions, and it's just like, boom, this is the taxes you pay based on the income you make, and here we are. I'm sure a lot of accountants would be mad to hear that because that would lower their job security. But Corey, what are your thoughts on a flat tax?
I think there's a lot of pros and cons to both sides of it. I think the suggestion that you just made, Jake, is an example, like 20% for people to pay regardless of what they make. The kicker is, for some people, that's going to raise their income tax. For other people, it's going to lower them. And a lot of that is going to depend upon how much income someone earns. The reality is that there are 13 states now in the United States that have implemented a flat tax at the state level. So it'd be interesting to see how this plays out and how those states do, because to this point, I feel like in the United States, it has really just been people pointing out what the pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages are. But the reality is, until that's in practice, we won't really know what the results are. What I would love to see reform around as far as taxes go is just the way that people pay taxes on their their personal property, their rental property, their vehicles, et cetera. I don't think our income tax code is perfect, but I understand that it is challenging and difficult to make a lot of changes to it. But it seems to me like, especially for folks with less income, that their real estate tax, their homeowners tax, their personal property tax probably makes up a larger portion of their income than maybe even their income tax.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You're right. That is a flawed system as well, especially the fact that they can just raise it arbitrarily. Like they're not even doing home appraisals, Corey, and they're jacking people's property
Right.
taxes
Yeah.
up
Or if
really
your home
high.
is paid for, yes.
So,
You're still paying your fee. So,
so I agree with that. And you're right. The problem I have is these uber wealthy people always complain about how they have all these shell companies and businesses and they don't pay any income tax, or it's all capital gains, which is typically at a lower rate than ordinary income, depending on your tax bracket. So I think, Corey, the bigger problem are in all the deductions and the loopholes. I think you could clean up and get a flat tax if you also got rid of some of the loopholes, right? So I think that's where it's actually become more complex. I mean, we've talked about this, you and I, about how the real estate industry, there's so many tax breaks for people that invest in real estate because it's been lobbied and gotten its way all the way through the system that
yep.
doesn't necessarily, and that's why a lot of wealthy people are in real estate, right? And I don't agree with that. And I get it that maybe the government is trying to influence reinvestment back into the country, but there's other ways to do it than creating these loopholes. And so I don't know. We're not going to solve it today in
No.
30 minutes on our show. But I love the idea. And I don't know if it'll ever be changed because there's just way too many people involved. And there's a lot of deep pockets that are really controlling it in the end.
Yep.